do not use the water. This is a very serious situation happening right now.
The emergency press conference just kicked off.
They believe between 2,000 and 5,000 gallons of MCHM leaked.
West Virginia Governor Earl Ray Tomlin's request for a federal disaster declaration.
And this is the first time that we've actually heard from Freedom Industries.
This is ground zero right now for water distribution.
Do not use the water to drink, bathe with, cook, or even do laundry from West Virginia American Water.
It is day 6 now of the water crisis.
It makes you wonder who was telling who what and when did they know it and why didn't we all know it? What would you like to see done and what didn't go right here?
Well, nothing went right here.
How did it happen, and when are we going to get our water back?
There is still no word on what the DEP found.
7,500 gallons spilled into the Elk River.
Here is a live look at the latest West Virginia American Water map. The places in red are still under the ban, while the areas in blue have been given the go-ahead to flush their lines.
Like anyone else, they thought it was safe. They started to do the flushing process, only to learn several frustrating hours later they had jumped the gun.
But we're still not out of the clear yet. It's not enough for us to use the water right now. Now, the ban will be lifted in 4 different zones, we're told, and here's how you can track that with a web-based map. Laura Jordan with West Virginia American Water joins me now with a little demonstration. Hi, Laura. Thanks for joining us. And this is something that anybody who has internet access will be able to track.
Internet access, you can do it on your laptop, tablet, smartphone.
As the water comes back online, many people are still a little leery of drinking it just yet. West Virginia's Attorney General Patrick Morrisey is issuing a warning tonight to consumers about different scams, here they are, and misleading products being targeted to those at the center of the water crisis.
Eyewitness News reporter Leslie Rubin is live in the studio with the information you need to know. Leslie?
Liz, during times like this, there are always those few bad apples trying to take advantage of people.
Next tonight, Hurricane filing a lawsuit over contaminated dirt in a landfill there.
Here's what we know tonight. 2 weeks ago, Freedom Industries began trucking away contaminated water from the plant to a landfill in Hurricane. The January 9th spill dumped 10,000 gallons of MCHM from the storage tanks into the Elk River and surrounding soil. The City of Hurricane and Putnam County Commission asked for an emergency injunction to stop that soil filled with MCHM from being dumped in a landfill in Putnam County. The company that operates that landfill, Waste Management, has stopped taking the contaminated soil from Freedom.
Pinal County schools are once again in the process of flushing their pipes, and that's because officials tested the water at 150 public and private schools throughout the area impacted by the water crisis, and a handful of them tested above the recommended level of that spilled MCHM.
Yeah, Eyewitness News reporter Katie Brown spent the day at one of those affected schools and has reaction from students and parents.
Water is running and draining as Kanawha County employees flush some schools for a second time.
Now, state tourism officials have not made a decision on whether to conduct polling or organize focus groups to see just how much the water crisis has impacted the state's image, but they are working to make sure staff at the state's Welcome Centers and Tourism Call Center are updated and informed about all the good things West Virginia does have to offer.
This is an Eyewitness News special presentation. Your voice, your future. A town hall meeting exploring the West Virginia water crisis and what's next for our communities.
The first hint that something was wrong was the strong smell of licorice in the Charleston air. On Thursday, January 9th, thousands of gallons of a chemical called MCHM, or hex meth, escaped from Freedom Industries into the Elk River. The chemical, used in coal processing, soon invaded the West Virginia American water system.
So I've just declared a state of emergency in the following counties.
By that evening, a do not use order was in place, leaving 100,000 water customers and estimated 300,000 people high and dry. Let's go live to the Clay Center for the Arts and Sciences in Charleston for a town hall meeting on the water crisis. Here is our moderator, Eyewitness News anchor Rick Lord.
Thank you, Kenny. We are live at the Clay Center for the Arts and Sciences in Charleston, West Virginia, where tonight we have assembled a panel of experts to get your questions answered on the West Virginia water crisis. We are hoping to get to the bottom of it all. It's now been almost 3 weeks that we have all endured this. We want to know how it happened, why it happened, and most importantly, what can we do to make sure that it does not happen again? As you look at the stage, you will notice 2 conspicuous empty seats. There is a third, but I will get to that in a moment. We did extend invitations repeatedly to West Virginia American Water and to Freedom Industries. At each step of the way, those invitations were declined. We are still hopeful that over the next hour, they might walk in this door. We have made it easy for them to slide in. We think that you deserve answers, and maybe common sense will prevail and they will get here and join our panel tonight. But let's show some respect for the panelists who did show up and step up to the plate this evening. I want to briefly introduce them. From your left to right, we will begin with Randy Huffman. He is the Secretary of the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection. His agency has spearheaded the state's response into the leak. Mike Dorsey is in charge of the DEP's crisis management team. He has spent the better part of 3 weeks at the site of the spill at Freedom. Dr. Raul Gupta is the director of the Cont Health Department. He is without a doubt the closest health official to the public and is in a unique position to answer your health-related questions. Next to Dr. Gupta is Erin Brockovich. She is a consumer advocate and environmental activist who in 1993, you might recall, played a huge role in building a case against Pacific Gas and Electric. That company had contaminated drinking water in Hinckley, California with hexavalent chromium. So it's safe to say that her experience is quite relevant to the issues we are dealing with here. Bob Bocock is an engineer and environmental investigator who works closely with Brockovich. He's been in the water treatment and testing business for more than 30 years, and we are still expecting Johnny Banks this evening. He is the lead investigator of the Chemical Safety Board out of Washington, D.C. He, too, has been on the site at Freedom repeatedly over the last 3 weeks. And Elizabeth Nareka is my colleague and co-anchor. She's working the social media desk this evening. Liz?
All right, Rick, thanks a lot. And I'm going to be monitoring everything social media tonight. We're going to be monitoring 2 social media platforms, Twitter and Facebook. And it's a great opportunity for you at home. If you didn't get a chance to make it out here tonight, you can still interact with us, and your opinions and your thoughts do matter to us, and we'd really like to hear from you.
Thank you, Liz. And also joining us this evening, my co-moderator and the liaison from the audience to the panelists, my Eyewitness News colleague, Kenny Bass.
Don't expect Mr. Banks to arrive. I just found out that Johnny Banks, the lead investigator for the Chemical Safety Board, can't make it. They promised they'd be here for the next one, though, but they can't make it for this one.
I should point out, Kenny, that we do have in the front row this evening, off camera, a row of experts and local dignitaries who might be able to fill in some gaps for questions that might not be entirely apropos for the panelists.
And we're going to call on those guys. But the questions that we're going to be asking for most of this event is from you.
Of why we didn't have mechanisms in place and who dropped the ball in the political realm.
What's happened here, in our opinion, in West Virginia, they're going to be the poster child to this nation of what to do and what not to do.
We have got to set up a system whereby we can prevent any of these tanks, because there's many more than what we see on the Elk River.
I want to know why the federal EPA wasn't given jurisdiction over the contamination site.
Should we be doing health screenings now?
We are the first human beings this chemical has ever been experimented on.
Do I trust you all to go ahead and let my children and, bathe and stuff?
That she's really scared to use it, and she's also afraid about if she does use it, what it'll do to her when she grows up.
The fact that they just keep pointing the finger in a big circle and saying he's responsible, I've never seen such a mishandled emergency in my life.
In our top 5 at 5, we are just past the 3-month anniversary of the chemical spill, and more MCHM troubles tonight. The Department of Environmental Protection issues 2 more violation notices to a trucking company. Eyewitness News reporter Katie Brown is live in St. Albans, where Diversified Services was served those warrants today, and this is not their first brush with the DEP, right, Katie?
Steph, that's right. This isn't, and this certainly isn't the news any of us want to hear. More trouble centered around MCHM and how it's being handled, especially after the January 9th spill at Freedom Industries. Diversified Services is the trucking company hired by Freedom to transport MCHM and other chemicals. Last week, there were reports of a substance in the drains near their headquarters just outside of St. Albans, so the DEP investigated.
Special presentation, Your Voice, Your Future, a town hall meeting focusing on the West Virginia water crisis. In January, when Freedom Industries leaked 10,000 gallons of MCHM into the Elk River and the water supply of 300,000 people, the way we view our drinking water and where it comes from changed forever. A days-long do not use order forced thousands to find their water somewhere other than their taps. Bottled and bulk supplies of H2O were quickly snapped up. Some of life's simplest conveniences, like taking a shower, cooking for your family, or just getting a nice cold drink, were suddenly much more complicated. Even when West Virginia American Water's system came back online, the licorice smell of the chemically tainted water was omnipresent. Thousands said they simply did not trust that the water was safe, a word government officials, healthcare experts, and the water company itself were very hesitant to use. Restaurants turned to bottled water to ease their customers' fears as they tried to get operations back to normal. Freedom Industries was hit hard. The company filed for bankruptcy as the government ordered its Elk River facility dismantled. The legislature passed a measure designed to close the loopholes allowing chemical storage tanks to operate without inspections or regulations. The water company is switching tons of activated carbon out of its filters in an effort to wipe away the last remnants of MCHM. But even today, more than 3 months after the spill, its effects are still being felt. More money is being pumped into tourism budgets to try and lure visitors who might otherwise have been scared away by the publicity surrounding the disaster. Restaurants work to bring customers back into the fold. Regulators and industry members discuss how the new laws will be implemented and enforced, all with an aim to keep our water pure. We take you now to the LaBelle Theater in South Charleston for our town hall meeting, moderated by Eyewitness News anchor Rick Lord.
Thank you, Kenny, and welcome inside the historic LaBelle Theater in South Charleston for another Eyewitness News town hall meeting. Your voice, your future. The West Virginia water crisis. What have we learned? And certainly a very relevant question, considering we are now more than 100 days past that leak at Freedom Industries along the Elk River, and still many people reluctant to trust what's coming out of their taps. I can say that we have assembled a very impressive panel for you tonight as we try to get your tough questions answered. From your left to right, as you see your screen, Dr. Loretta Hattie is the Director for the Office of Epidemiology and Prevention Services under the umbrella of the Department of Health and Human Resources. She has been the state epidemiologist for more than 30 years. Dr. Raul Gupta is the Director of the Kanawha Charleston Health Department. He has been a very familiar face during this crisis and very outspoken in his call for comprehensive health monitoring in the aftermath of that chemical spill. We are honored to have with us this evening 2 esteemed members of our congressional delegation. Congresswoman Shelley Moore Capito represents West Virginia's 2nd District in the House of Representatives, and Senator Joe Manchin with us as well, our junior senator committed to be a part of this panel as soon as we told him about this weeks ago. We certainly thank him for his participation this evening. Jeff McIntyre is the president of West Virginia American Water. A lot of people were visibly upset when his company did not send a representative to our first town hall meeting. During an exclusive interview I conducted with Mr. McIntyre at the height of the crisis, he assured me that the water company would be more transparent moving forward, so we thank him for holding true to his word and respect him for showing up tonight for sure. Randy Huffman is the Cabinet Secretary for the Department of Environmental Protection. His agency is the one tasked with enforcing the new stricter regulations, which are now law thanks to the passage of Senate Bill 373, which was crafted by State Senator John Unger, who was kind enough to join us tonight to answer questions about the legislation and what it aims to accomplish. At the very end of the stage is my colleague Elizabeth Nareka. She will be handling our social media desk this evening.
For Congresswoman Capito and Senator Manchin, regarding the 2 federal pieces of legislation that you mentioned a few minutes ago, the Chemicals and Commerce Act and the Chemical Safety Improvement Act, there's some shortcomings to those bills, and I'd like to know what you're going to do to address them.
It's still a work in action.
One bill basically says this purely, do you have a safety containment? If something does spill, are you going to contain it before it goes into the waterway? Just making sure that. Does the DEP or EPA have the right to go into a non-hazmat tank and check it too?
But the rules are important. The devil's in the details. So we have to continue. And this is an example right here. The first meeting you had, we had almost an auditorium filled with people. Now it's starting to dwindle. And that concerns me, because if we don't continue looking at this, then we're not going to get the protections that we deserve. And so we have to continue to focus on this and monitor this, and also hold your elected officials accountable for everything we do.
A lesson.
So thank you.